on this computer. It is recording. Fantastic. So welcome back, or I should say welcome back to myself almost. It is really great to be here another evening. Thank you so much for giving up your evening. I shouldn't say giving up, I should say thank you for showing up, for yourselves. I'm gonna just do a really brief introduction for those who may not have seen the previous training, and those who are like new and have jumped on. So I am Elizabeth Adina. I am a full-time working mum of 2. I call myself a people builder. I'm absolutely passionate about up-leveling people, empowering them, enlightening them, and I do that through mentoring and coaching. I'm also a network marketing business builder, and I have recently joined the world of Essence, and I am super excited to launch very, very soon. But despite all those many hats that I wear, my greatest love, as I'm kind of indicated, is to bring enlightenment to others and really help them up level themselves, and sharing my learnings of what I'm my own journey, what I'm still work in progress learning. I love being able to share that with others, and it's a great passion of mine, and it's one of the reasons obviously I am here today. So just a really quick recap. Last week we talked about the importance of your why, and how your self-image or your programming or paradigm, and I'll kind of bounce between those because they all pretty much mean the same thing. But we talked about how our programming has a lot to do with achieving what we want in life. We also talked about how your why should be about you, your desires, your wants and your dreams, and that it was okay to have a why for you. It's not selfish at all. We talked about the importance of putting on your oxygen mask on first, and by focusing on you first, it means everybody else around you would benefit from that. So we also talked about covered discovering your why and actually checking whether excuse me, your why is still relevant. And I touched on how the why that you may have had, at the beginning of your business, or, what you have right now may not be the same why that is going to take you, to a year, 2 years, 3 years down the line. So it's really important to check in and see, is your why still, moving you to show up daily for yourself? We also talked about this pleasure-pain principle, and how that it's associated to your why, and looking at achieving your why as the pleasure principle and really creating that picture, and then looking at what it will cost you to not achieve your why and creating that picture, that pain picture, so to speak, of what you absolutely want to avoid as well. I'm wondering whether any of you managed to start that work at all in terms of your why. And actually we talked about your self-image and changing that as well. So that's just a really brief recap into what we covered last week. So before we get stuck into our wonderful friend Self Sabotage, which is, I'm sure it's a biggie for most of us, and I'm going to put my hand up here. I am a self-saboteur in recovery. I want us to start with a quick meditation, because I really feel it's good to come with an open mind. A closed mind cannot accept a new idea or new learnings. So I really want to take just literally about 5 minutes to do a meditation to just allow you to open your mind, leave behind like the stresses of the day. The dogs might join in. So yeah, leave behind the stresses of the day and just really relax and be present for the learnings that we're going to go through today. So I'm going to get my iPad. It is set up. Hopefully the music will come through. If not to worry. We will just go with what we have. You can just listen to the sound of my voice. So hopefully you will be in a comfortable spot, a quiet space. If you have your earphones in, that's great. If not, just try and tune in and relax as much as possible. And hopefully this, you will be able to hear it. Okay. So I want you to close your eyes, and as you close your eyes, take a deep breath in through your nose, and then out, exhale out through your mouth. And as you exhale out through your mouth, I want you to release all your concerns and, running thoughts and worries of the day. And then breathe in through your nose again and take in calm relaxation, and exhale out through your mouth, just letting go of anything that might be concerning you, anything around you. Just release and let that go. And as you breathe in again through your nose, and then exhale out through your mouth, I just want you to just tune into your breathing. It doesn't have to be any particular way. It's not right, it's not wrong. Just relax into your breathing. And with your eyes closed and your breathing normal, I want you to imagine a beautiful glowing light, almost like a circular orb in front of you. And I want you to see that as a color that makes you feel really good. And as you see that orb, you can feel radiating from that orb a beautiful warmth, comfort, safety, calm, and relaxation. And that beautiful light comes towards you as you're just sitting, just breathing in and out. And it approaches towards the top of your head. And as it does that, it moves through your head, and you can feel the warmth of that beautiful glowing light through your head. And it relaxes your neck and shoulders as it passes through, down through your chest and your arms. And you feel that relax, and the tension in your muscles just release. And you feel the warmth and the calmness of that beautiful orb going through your stomach and through to your hips. And you just feel all the tension in your body just relax into how you're sitting right now, and leave all that tension and concerns of the day, just leaves your body as the light just flows through your hips and then through to your legs, all the way down through to your toes. And as that beautiful light leaves your toes, it grows larger and larger around you till it surrounds you completely. And you just take in its warmth, its calmness, its relaxation, helping you feel centered and open. Your mind is open. You trust completely that you'll get everything that you need from your learnings today. You don't need to show up in any particular way. Just be present, relaxed, calm, and peaceful. And take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale out through your mouth. And when you're ready, open your eyes and be present in the room. So, I hope that was relaxing for you and you feel a sense of calm. You've released whatever you needed to release from the day and you are ready for us to get into this training for today. I'm just going to share my screen with you. Okay. So today we are talking about self-sabotage. And I put here like, hello self-sabotage, like it's, a friend, but it isn't. Self-sabotage is really like this unwanted visitor. It wouldn't make any difference if it was like, Adele on the phone, like, hello, it's me. You've got a task to do, but go and watch TV. It wouldn't make any difference if it was like that. It would still frustrate the hell out of us. I don't know about you, but that is pretty much how self-sabotage kind of turns up and just ruins, what you're trying to achieve. But what is self-sabotage exactly? It's when we use destructive behavior against ourselves, and that stops us from doing what we want to do or what we know is going to serve us. So self-sabotage, it can be a conscious thing that we do, but most of the time it's subconscious. And so we don't always realize that we're doing it until we reflect back, and in hindsight, we see that, oh, okay, this is what happened. However, when our negative habits, which is essentially what self-sabotage is, consistently undermine our efforts to achieve what we know will serve us, and those, when it becomes consistent like that, those negative habits can be considered a form of psychological self-harm. And at this point here, I just really want to point out that if for any reason you have been, struggling with self-sabotage, and it's gotten to a point you've tried as much as you can, and it's really destructive in your life, and nothing seems to be working at, no matter what you've done, please know and don't be afraid to seek help, probably in the form of a counsellor. There is nothing wrong with doing that, and don't allow yourself to suffer anymore. Give yourself the gift of getting the help that you need, and not only the help that you need, but the help that you deserve. So in last week's training, as I mentioned, we talked about having this autopilot, that our programming was like an autopilot, and we always return to what we are programmed to do, or to the dominant thoughts that really get us through our day, because it's easier than competing with the thousands of thoughts that we have going through our minds per hour. And I touched on that experts say that per hour we have about 2.5 to 3.5 thousand thoughts that we think per hour. So that's a huge amount of thoughts. So some of the core things about self-sabotage we will cover, but let's just go back quickly to this idea of the autopilot. So our self-sabotage works as our self-protection autopilot. And what I explained about our programming was that it's a bit like a plane that's set to a destination. And if the plane hits something that's different, so the turbulence, the autopilot will click in and it will always bring the plane back on track to its destination. It will pull it away from that difference, from that turbulence that wants to take it off course, and bring it back to bring it back to hit its destination. So our self-sabotage protection, I guess, the autopilot, it pulls us away from what we want to do, and which most of the time, the things that we want to do, that where self-sabotage gets in the way, are usually things that require us to do something different, or something, deep down we know that we might not be fully ready to do. So the self-protection mechanism, in the way that self-sabotage works, it pulls us back to our programming, which is safer and familiar. But what is our self-sabotage really trying to do for us? Is it really working for our higher good? You see, our subconscious mind ultimately is working for our good. And even in what can, be seen as a twisted way in the case of self-sabotage. And let me explain that. So if our self-sabotage works as our self-protection mechanism, there are like three key things that it's trying to work for our higher good for. One of them, the first one, is conflict of self. So the majority of us, we want to be better. We want to be successful in life, have successful businesses. We want time and money freedom. And getting all of those things, at least, they require us to upgrade our self-image or our programming from what we've always been doing, or what has always existed, or at least for a substantial amount of time in our lives. And I'm guessing that when it came down to, for those who were on the training from last week, when it came down to doing some of the exercises, the reflection, that you might have even hit some self-sabotage then. But you see, your subconscious wants to protect you from being something different, something that isn't currently familiar to you. The second self-protection mechanism that self-sabotage works in is to protect us from failure. So I'm sure there are very few of us, and most likely none of us at all, who enjoy failing. Most of us see failure as the worst ever experience, or at least that's how we've made it, what we've made it mean to us. And there are obviously varying degrees of failure. So, for example, if I failed to make a spinach stew, which my husband is absolutely amazing at doing, I'm not going to be too bothered about that, because I'm still going to enjoy it, and I think I can live with that. However, when the stakes are high, then our self-sabotage kicks in to prevent us from, or the risks of failing are high, our self-sabotage can kick in. So, for example, for me, the first time, with where I work, I had to write a script for the CEO of a video script for the CEO of our business. And to be honest with you, I was shitting myself, because it was something that I had never done before. And I just felt like, I can't, what if I did this and I completely fail? So what my self-sabotage started to do was things like, every opportunity I'd get up and go and have a cup of tea, or I would take a little bit of a walk, anything to kind of avoid just that sitting down and getting the task done. I even, spoke to my manager to volunteer for a meeting that I would go to on her behalf, because she was full on, working full on, just so that I could kind of say, well, I don't really have the full capacity to write this script for the CEO, which, is obviously ridiculous. But I had to push myself. In the end, I had to push myself through it and remind myself that, it wasn't that I couldn't write. It was just literally because I had not, done it before. It was something that I wasn't familiar with. And my self-sabotage was trying to protect me from failing at that task. And I went on to convince myself that, even if I don't get it right, it's not a case of me getting my P45. So really, what am I concerning myself about? Just get this stuff done. And as a result of that, it turned out that, you know, I, as a newbie in the company as well, I produced this video script that needed minor, absolutely minor changes, which was not really heard of. And unless I had led myself through my, you know, my self-sabotage, I wouldn't have gained that experience. I wouldn't have allowed myself or proven to myself that I could do that and achieve that. And now I can say, you know, this is something that I'm able to do. So our self-sabotage does try to protect us from failure, but particularly when the stakes are really high. The third self-protection that self-sabotage kicks in with is to protect us from disconnection. So back in like the caveman times or prehistoric times, to be more precise or scientific, it made sense to be part of a tribe or part of a pact, and sticking together was a form of survival. If you were different, or you know, you didn't go along with, you know, the familiar things or that the pack or the tribe would be doing, you would get isolated, and of course that disconnect would likely result in death, or at least a threat of death by the wild animals and so on at that time. And again, being part of that tribe, being connected, you know, was a form of safety. So back in those times, I would imagine that anything that would have pulled a member of the tribe to do something differently that would mean risking their lives, their self-sabotage would probably kick in to prevent them from doing that. And if we fast forward, obviously, millions and millions of years since then, that kind of mentality still does exist. If you think of, you know, being part of the squad or being part of a tribe, even our teams that we have, you know, we want to try and feel connected and maintain being connected and not doing things that are going to take us outside of that. So, you know, for example, as a result of wanting to maintain that connection, perhaps, you know, initially we didn't really show up for ourselves and our businesses because we didn't want to be disconnected or, you know, lose that connection from our friends and family. Or maybe we're still not showing up in our businesses as a result of that. And self-sabotage is causing that. You know, perhaps we're not prospecting, we don't really talk about our business, or we're half-hearted about our daily modes of operation. All of that is our self-sabotage acting in a way to keep us connected with those that matter to us. And as I mentioned, with our programming, we will always act in alignment with what we're in harmony with. The programming that exists within us will always act in alignment with that. I'm just going to see if I can check the chat, because I can see a few things. I don't think it's going to let me. Oh, it is. In fact, I'll keep on going and I'll go through the chat at the end. Otherwise, I am going to get extremely distracted. You can hear I'm battling against dogs today. So, signs of self-sabotage. So, self-sabotage can manifest in many different ways and different behaviours. It's unique to each person. But there are some common recurring examples, and I've listed them there. You might recognise some of them, you know, in you yourself. So, you know, perhaps you might forget that deadline or those deadlines, you know, or, you know, fail to prepare for a presentation properly, for example. You know, perhaps you're consistently late to things that are important. Procrastination is a big one when it comes to, or very common one when it comes to self-sabotage. So repeatedly putting off something that you need to do, even though you need to finish it. Perfectionism is a huge one as well. And perfectionism completely sets us up to fail because it's fueled by unconstructive self-criticism of meeting unreasonable standards when it comes to getting things done. So maybe also you start things but you don't finish them. Maybe you feel stuck and unable to proceed even when you have something exciting or an exciting opportunity presented to you. You know, maybe you dream of doing something great that's, you know, of personal significance to you, but you can just never seem to get round to doing anything about it. You know, I've said there, just another form of self-sabotage is distracting ourselves, quitting too early, you know, or, you know, coming to a complete standstill for no, you know, logical reason whatsoever. Another form of self-sabotage is eating poorly, and that could be eating too much or too little. Poor decision making as well, poor time management, you know, keeping the wrong company, even drinking too much as well. And I've also put there negative self-talk, which self-sabotage is often driven hugely by negative self-talk. So that's obviously where you're telling yourself that, you know, you're inadequate or unworthy of success. And you find yourself saying things like, you know, you can't do that, or you don't deserve that, or if you try, you'll probably just fail anyway. So we've all probably experienced some of these behaviors, or they, you know, they may even still be coming up for us now. And some of us are obviously prone to, you know, more prone to self-sabotage than others. And it can often be really difficult to admit that we are self-sabotaging. But don't ignore it or underestimate the signs of self-sabotage, because what it does is it just reinforces a misplaced sense of worthlessness, and it provides justification for, you know, negative thoughts that aren't based on any real reality at all. So I wanted to touch here on self-esteem and self-sabotage. And one of the key reasons why we self-sabotage is a lack of self-esteem. And it can have many different causes, but the effects are generally the same. And those are feelings of worthlessness, the belief that we don't deserve success, and even self-hatred. But when it comes to self-esteem, we often think of self-confidence. But self-esteem is more than just confidence. It goes deeper. And in fact, someone can actually have great self-confidence, but still have low self-esteem. And that's, you know, especially when, you know, there's an attitude of fake it till you make it, you know, pretending until you succeed. But if you have a healthy balance or healthy self-esteem, then you don't need to fake anything. So there's a leading theory about self-esteem that it's a combination of two factors, and that is competence and worthiness. So competence is how far you believe you have the skills and the abilities that you need to succeed in areas that matter to you. And worthiness is based on your values and whether you routinely behave in a way that's consistent with those values. And together, those factors, they influence, you know, whether you believe you're good enough, and whether you like and respect yourself, respect the person that you actually are. And a lack of self-esteem, which is, you know, one of the key roots to self-sabotage, means that there is an imbalance between your competence, so your skills and abilities, and your worthiness, your values and your behaviors, and you know, behaving in alignment with your values. So when it comes to a lack of self-esteem that causes, you know, our self-sabotage, You might worry that, I might fail. You might worry your family might think less of you, or if you're successful, people will be jealous of you. So these deep-seated thoughts and feelings, they just cause negative self-talk, and they fuel our fears and our self-sabotaging behaviors. Even some people self-sabotage because it makes them feel in control of their situations, and they can, self-sabotage by start sabotaging and then rescue the situation. So for example, leaving something really important to the last minute, which obviously is not helpful to themselves, and then pulling it off, being able to quickly rescue it and pull it off, and they might receive some short-term boost in their self-confidence, but it will feel temporary, or thrilling for a little bit. However, the rewards of that on a long-term basis are actually quite destructive. So self-sabotage, as most of us will know, can cause a lot of damage. It sets us up to fail in a number of ways. So the first is that it reinforces negative behaviors that eat away at our potential for success. And in this way, you might constantly, find yourself falling short of the goals that you set for yourself. Self-sabotage can also damage your reputation. If you don't do what you say you're going to do, then there's a real risk that people around you will start to see you as unreliable or uncommitted or even lazy or lacking drive. So people who self-sabotage might also behave in, passive aggressively and have trouble managing their anger. And obviously that can damage relationships with friends and family, and actually, your co-workers or your teammates as well. And all these, behaviors and, around self-sabotage, they just fuel disappointment, and they create the feelings of guilt and frustration. Over time, they can build up to cause shame, and that in turn feeds low self-esteem. So understanding self-sabotage is really key. And, we've covered what it is and how damaging it can be. So starting your journey to banishing self-sabotage is more likely to be successful if you can gather a bit of understanding. And there are some key questions that you can journal about to recognize and understand why self-sabotage is showing up for you. And I've listed a few of them there. So what do you really want to achieve? For example, what are your goals? What is the key task at hand? Perhaps that's a promotion in your business, or actually launching your business, or getting active, or, you can look at other areas such as your health. What is it that you really want to achieve? Why do you think you're self-sabotaging? So that links back to, the real belief you have about yourself. Allow yourself to be open when you're asking that question. Why am I self-sabotaging in this particular area? Could there be negative consequences to getting what it is that you really want? For example, maybe you're scared that, if you're successful at your business and you make too much money, then you'll lose friendships, or you'll become this horrible person, which is obviously rubbish, because money in itself, it only magnifies what already exists. So if you're already a generous, kind person, it's going to magnify more of that. So another question I put there is when you think of the part of you that self-sabotages, what do you think that he or she really wants? And I don't actually I don't want to give you specifics, because I want you to draw your own conclusions about what you feel the part of you that self-sabotages really wants. But remember how I said that our subconscious mind actually works for our higher good. And even if that might seem a bit twisted, just allow yourself to see what comes up when you ask that question from your subconscious mind. And lastly, do you see yourself as a successful person? If not, why not? So, defeating self-sabotage. I'm going to share with you 5 ways you can you can kick self-sabotage to the curb. And I've actually, in addition to this training, I've created a checklist and a worksheet for you to use at any time. And that will complement, everything that you've been learning here today. And I will share that, with Kelly or in Training Hub tomorrow, so that you have that. So don't worry about too much about taking heaps and heaps of notes. I have created those additional resources for you as well. So the first way to kick self-sabotage to the curb is to recognize your self-sabotaging behaviors. So to stop self-sabotage, you first need to recognize your own self-sabotaging behaviors. And we're just going to build a bit more on some of the questions that I had mentioned, you could journal and ask yourself to understand your self-sabotage. So think about the goals that you've had for a long time but have never accomplished. Are there particular areas where you're putting off making a decision? Are you lacking motivation, even for important things? Consider something that you frequently, fail at for no particular obvious reason, or something that you do or don't do that consistently frustrates other people. That could be your spouse, your friends, or your team. Ask yourself, is there any activity or task that nags at you and causes you dissatisfaction because you really could do it or do it better? And it might be painful to ask these questions to recognize your self-sabotaging behavior, but it really is important, because if you tune in to these behaviors, if you start to recognize them and understand, you can get a better understanding of what is happening and then be able to deal with them. So the second thing is actually to understand the emotions that lead to your self-sabotaging behaviors. So self-sabotaging behavior often stems from negative feelings. So feelings of things like anxiety or anger or worthlessness. So for example, maybe you have deliberately stopped going to your upline for help, even though it will benefit you, because you didn't get your question answered during a team meeting or team call, and this made you angry and upset. And that whole event triggered an emotion, which could then lead to self-defeating action or self-sabotaging behaviour. So when in fact, your upline may have been deep in thought about something else, and if they found out how upset and angry you were about it, would maybe be shocked and really sorry. But your emotional response, that negative feeling, doesn't take that into account. So always try to or aim to manage your emotions so that you don't act out behaviours that can have negative consequences or unjustly, affect other people. So check your warning signs of anger and anxiety before they get out of control. So the third thing to kick self-sabotage to the curb is to spot the thinking or beliefs that cause these negative emotions or these negative feelings. So the chances are, like, that emotion, that anger and upset that led to, you know, the behaviour that caused irrational thoughts, you know, consider evidence for those thoughts. So in the example that I gave about the upline, you know, they weren't actually being dismissive because they didn't care or that they don't like you. It just could be that they very well had many things to think about. Notice what you say to yourself when you engage in that self-sabotaging behaviour, and write down all of your negative self-talk, no matter how silly or unrealistic it may seem. And the ideal time to do that is when you're engaged in the behaviour. So you monitor, like, your stream of consciousness, or, you know, what's going on for you. Write it down. And in the example, you know, an example is that, you know, you might catch yourself thinking, you know, I'm such a failure. My upline has probably reached the end of their patience with me. Whatever it is that's coming to you in terms of, you know, your negative self-talk, write it down, because then you use that to reflect and understand what is coming up for you that is causing you to self-sabotage. So number 4 is to change your behaviours, emotions, and thoughts. So as you become aware of the negative emotions and behaviours and thoughts that trigger your self-sabotage, you can begin to challenge them. And awareness, that's why awareness is an amazing thing. And if you can change at least one of those things, so either your behaviour, your emotion, or your thoughts, then the other two are likely to change more easily as well. So challenge your negative thinking with logic or positive affirmations to turn your, you know, your assumptions around and then put things into perspective. So, for example, you know, negative thinking like, I can never complete anything. You can change that around to, I am capable of completing tasks that I start. Another example is that I don't have a negative thought would be, I don't have what it takes to see myself getting anywhere in my business or being successful in it. And a positive, changing that into the positive would be, I have what it takes to build my business and actually lead a thriving team. So then you then would link your positive self-talk to what you actually can accomplish and what you want to achieve. And when your skills, your beliefs, and your behaviors are all aligned, then you can create, like, the mental, emotional, and physical states that you need to do in order to set your mind, in order to do whatever you set your mind to do. But do be aware that just by, you know, changing your behavior, it's unlikely to beat your self-sabotage habit, like, long term, unless you change your emotions and thoughts that lie behind your self-sabotage. But it can help if you notice, learn from, and you give yourself credit for more positive outcomes that you have, because that helps to break the cycle of negativity. And final 5th one here is to develop self-supporting behaviours. So when you've identified and you've begun to defeat that false reasoning that you have for your self-sabotaging behaviours, you can start to rebuild your self-esteem. So you can consider, like, the following options. What can you say to yourself that is positive or encouraging? What options do you have? Is there more than one way to achieve your goal? And can you build self-confidence by setting and achieving smaller goals on your way to achieving your bigger ones? And then you can use those answers to come up with a message that inspires you to move in a more positive direction. So, for example, an inspiring one could be, even though I may not complete this task in time, I know that I have the resources and the skills I need to get me through. And that when I start to tackle the project, I know that I will release a lot of stress and anxiety I've been carrying around while I've been procrastinating. That's quite a long inspirational one, but that's an example of one of the inspiring messages that you can create for yourself to develop self-supporting behaviour, to build your self-esteem and reduce the effects of self-sabotage. So, looking at our time, hopefully, I know that was a lot of information to take in. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen here. Right, and check the chat. So hopefully you managed to gather some learnings that are helpful to you in terms of understanding what self-sabotage is, understanding how it can show up, and some of the things that you can put in place to prevent self-sabotage coming up for you and reducing that. And as I mentioned, the checklist that I have, I've got about like 17 things in there, 17 to 20 things in there that are really, really helpful in terms of, being able to banish your self-sabotage, and that will really support you, so you can refer back to that, because obviously it's something that you're going to, we have to continue to practice. It's not something that changes overnight, but we have to want to do something about it for ourselves. I am going to pop into the chat and see what's been going on here. Okay, so Amy, yeah, exactly. Yeah, we do. We go into protection mode a lot, and that is literally what self-sabotage is. It's working to really protect ourselves, but in a way that at the same time doesn't really help us, which is why it's good to understand what is going on when it comes to that. See, okay, fantastic. Oh, did it cut off? I'm really sorry about that. Oh, okay. So, oh wow. Okay, yeah, yeah. It's interesting, to have a different perspective when it comes to self-sabotage and how it shows up for us, how it impacts us, how damaging it can be. I was looking at that list that I put up in terms of some of the signs. I was like, yeah, tick, yeah, tick, yeah, tick. And the thing is, self-sabotage doesn't, I think when it comes to the more we grow, the more we learn, we hit a different level of self-sabotage, or different ones can come up for us. But that's why it's really great to have this information, to be able to face it and get rid of it, lessen its effects as soon as possible. Okay, great. The notes, yeah, of course. I'll be happy to share those as well. Michelle, you're welcome. Caroline, you are welcome. Welcome, everybody. So I believe we are going to have another week, are we, Kelly? Shall I unmute you? Oh, shall I unmute you?
Sorry, I didn't catch that. What did you say?
I said, I believe we're going to have one more week of me, aren't we?
We are one more week. So we've got the finale next week. I've just been preparing a post for the Planet Network as you was finishing there. make sure that everybody catches up with last week and this week if they haven't done already, because obviously we've got the grand finale next week before you actually jump into the business yourself.
Yes, I'm so excited to like be part of the family. I mean, Kelly kind of had me from hello, to be honest with you. she's 100% like one of my girl crushes now. So like I get to love on her.
Really start saying that. Amy will get really jealous if you start saying that.
Oh really? I will have to fight you, Amy.
Oh, she'll start copying your accents as well. Stop.
Oh really? Yeah, I just fall in and out of these accents. It happens every now and again. My African accent just comes out, and then it's all over. So, but yeah, I absolutely, I'm really excited. You know, I'm working full time, but I can't wait to like launch in this because it's a fantastic business and an amazing team. Absolutely amazing team, amazing energy. I love the, you know, the support, the really the encouragement of, you know, all of us win. All of us win. It's not about, you know, one particular person, but that is the sense that I get here, and I'm so much about that community values or you know, culture.
A little bit like what I said to you, Elizabeth, a couple of weeks ago. You know, there's enough room for everybody at the top of the table. So anybody that wants to take advantage of anything, and that's not just with this type of businesses, it's with anything in life. You know, you've got everything for the taking, so long as whatever you do, you put your heart and soul into it, and you believe that you can absolutely achieve anything that you want with anything.
Exactly. Oh, who's girl crush? And I think Amy, am I your girl crush? Yes, girl.
Kick her out. Kick her out.
Go, Kelly. Sorry. Sorry. Hashtag.
Hashtag girl crush.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't want to keep you any longer. I think, we're just coming up to the top of the hour, which is great.
Perfect.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah, so I haven't talked as long as I should have. Maybe.
Honestly, it's been brilliant again, and I think the fact that it's just been absolutely straight to the point for people to be able to have their eyes open about what self-sabotage is, because a lot of the time it's just things that you naturally do without even realizing. And for me, it was a massive eye-opener when we covered this subject with Anna. Some of you guys might recognize Anna's name now, being bounced around the Platinum Network, just purely because I've been posting some of the trainings that she's been doing publicly. But self-sabotage is probably something that if you work on it daily and ask yourself why, you know, your certain behaviors are this way, and then when you get an answer back to yourself, you'll say, well, why did I act that way? And then just keep digging deeper and deeper, and you'll come to the core of it. There's a lot of behaviors that I realized that I was doing. I was hitting certain levels which you can consider to be quite high levels within the industry, and every time I hit a high level, I would self-sabotage, and it was actually really, really deep rooted to when I was younger. And it was just like, oh my God. And as soon as I found out that was the core reason why I was like that, I realized it was even things like if somebody made a passing comment, that would trigger me to start reacting in different ways. So with whatever Elizabeth has covered tonight and said, I would really encourage you to go away and have a look at any sort of the information that she's going to be putting in here in that little workbook that she said she's going to be giving to us tomorrow, just for you to go away and work on yourself. This isn't necessarily a training to help you progress within the Platinum Network or necessarily within your business. This is something for you to be able to work on yourself, better yourself, because you can only get whatever you want in life if you are fully happy and content with everything that you're doing for yourself. You can only project out that you know, that wonderfulness for you to be able to attract everything that you want in your life. So if you've got negativities, if you've got anything like that's stored deep down, it's going to be a blockage. So just go away, have a look at, you know, all your behaviours and how you sort of retaliate to different situations. And believe me, it took me a good 2-3 weeks to work through self-sabotage. But if you work through it solidly, and keep going back to the reasons why would that be happening, everything will unfold, and it's like a light bulb that just switches on, and it's just like, oh, when you do find out reasons why you behave the way that you do.
Absolutely, I 100% agree. And it's the thing is, this is for you. Nobody's going to be checking up on you. Nobody's going to be forcing you to do this. Of course, it is purely for you, and you can apply this, as Kelly said, not just to, you know, how you perform in your business, but in all areas of your life. And it's giving yourself the opportunity to release those things that, you know, that have been holding you back. And I'm sure, if, you know, I know with me, it can be extremely frustrating, you know, and it's just giving yourself the best chance or the best opportunity to break free from that and move forward in the direction that is really gonna benefit you. The other thing that I would say as well, when doing all of this, like, which pretty much everything that we've talked about, you know, from why to self-image to self-sabotage, all of this is inner work. Just be aware that you're likely to kind of come up with not only just resistance, but tiredness, right? Because you're dipping into, you know, something that, as I said, we don't like really consciously think. We just go on, we go through our days and so on. So to stop and then to have to look inwards and do that, it takes time, it takes effort, it takes commitment. But the most important thing is that you want that for you. And the fact that you are even like showing up today, that's amazing. Do congratulate yourself for doing that, for showing up today, for wanting to have different for yourself. Because we to make you emotion because we absolutely deserve different for ourselves. Absolutely, each one of us. Nobody here is better than anybody. Nobody here is better than anybody. We are all amazing, wonderful people, whether we see it right now or not. I used to go through so many things in terms of, well, you know, can I really do this? Am I really capable of doing these things? Why am I not pushing forward when this is what I'm saying that I want to do? This is what I'm saying how I want to be. Like, who do you think you are? So much came up for me, and it has taken a lot, even for me to like show up here today. You know, I'm here for all of you, maybe seeming like this expert, so to speak, but I'm just like you, just wanting to show up for myself, wanting to show up for my passion and my purpose, to make an impact, to share what I feel is also going to take you through your journey in the best way. That's all. And it's so much in my heart to do that. So much, because I know what it was like to not have any of that for me when I was growing up. Never have any of that for me. And to learn like really hard way. Like, if I was to sit down and tell you like my story, you just wouldn't believe that the person here today is the same person at all. You really wouldn't. And I haven't reached a stage. We don't reach this stage. We are continuously evolving, continuously changing. And that's the beauty of it. We never have to feel that we arrive. And in fact, as soon as we kind of feel that we arrive, that's when we actually stop and we start to go backwards. This disintegrating thing, you know, if you're not growing and moving forward, you're actually disintegrating. So none of us actually truly arrive. But honestly, do honestly take this time for yourself, because you don't know how much of who you are is needed. This is one of the things that I had to hear over and over and over again. So my light, I look like a shadow in this darkness. I go, woo. But yeah, I had to really begin to hear that for myself, that who I am and who each of you are is really needed. How you show up for yourself every day, even the things that people, people don't see. People don't see the things that you have to convince yourself of to do, pushing forward. When you look at what you're doing, you're thinking, how the fuck, sorry, excuse me, but like, how, how the hell can I even do this? How am I even doing this? But you see so much more, and the desire that you have within you to move forward, to show up, to have the business, to build the life that you want for yourself is 100% right. And the fact that you have that desire means that everything else that you need and that you're supposed to have is available to you. Otherwise, you wouldn't have that desire, right? So know that each and every one of you can give yourself the gift of going deeper within, doing this discovery work. I hate the word homework, absolutely hate the word homework. I say discovery work, because in that learning, that is exactly what happens. We get this, we have the discoveries as we go through, the teachings and learnings, etc. But give yourself that gift of that discovery work, and know that your next person tomorrow is the you tomorrow of tomorrow will absolutely thank yourself for it. Okay? We can all absolutely do this. Absolutely, without a doubt. And the amazing thing is that we all have each other to lean on to do that. So I'm going to stop talking because it's over time. And I could go on. It's just such a privilege to be here and to share with you all, and to be part of this beautiful journey that we're all going to go on. And yeah, I'm an open door, so I'm here. I love to listen. I love to encourage. Encouragement is actually my spiritual gift. So there you are. I have to put it into practice as much as I can. So yeah, I think we all lean in and lean forward, don't we? And just keep going at this, because we absolutely can. Okay.
Right. I think Bex McCulloch, really good analogy of it, actually. Sorry, just before we do close for the night. When we was covering the self-sabotage, and one of our analogies was, prior to it, irrelevant if you don't have any children, if you've got a family or a husband or anything like that, now you usually find that the self-love that you've got for yourself, it becomes divided. Yeah. Because you start to look after other people, or you start looking after your house as you grow up and things like that. And then if you do end up having children, then you start giving them the first class life. And as you get older, you start to sort of lower your own standards, so you give everybody else a little bit more of yourself. And so your first class life that you might have had as when you was younger, putting all your priorities first. I want to go out, I want to make sure that I've got the best clothes, I want to look nice, I want my nails done, I want my hair done. And as you work your way up the ladder, you might be getting that little bit older, but you've got relationships, or you've got higher end jobs or whatever, which is taking all your time. And as all that happens, you sort of downgrade your own class. So you give everybody else a first class life, and you end up giving yourself a second class life. So everything what Elizabeth's covered tonight, it's like, self-sabotage will be the reasons why, you might be stopping that, but also dig deep and try and find the reasons why you don't deserve that first class life again, because absolutely everybody does. And if you start asking yourself, well, why shouldn't I do this? Why shouldn't I do this? What I used to do, that can be hooks as well as to the reasons why you do self-sabotage, and you might be able to find it through that route as well.
Exactly, absolutely that. And it's true, we lose so much of ourselves by dividing that love. I completely, after I had my second child, completely lost myself, my identity, who I was, just coasting through. but it just takes that desire to want more, that desire to dig deeper into who you are, and you know, doing that work to be able to move forward through that.
Absolutely. And I know one of the girls that's logged in here tonight, I was trying to reach out to her last week when she was saying that she enjoyed the first one, and I had to say to her, you have to make it all about you.
Yes.
You have to make sure that every single thing that you're looking at is about you. It's not about your children. It's not about your job. It's not about your partner. You have to be so selfish in this exercise, because ultimately, how can you expect to radiate and help anybody else if you're not 100% full and loved and having self-respect and understanding that you do deserve everything? How can you actually give that to somebody else? So it's going right back to the root of everything. So yeah, I think that person will know what I'm talking about. But yeah, just make sure that you're very, very selfish in this exercise.
Absolutely, you deserve it. My kids know already. All I have to do now is give them a look if it's my time. It's like, if you're not bleeding, if you're not on fire, if you're not dying, don't bother me. Don't bother me at all.
Oh my God, I'm actually related to Amy. Oh my God.
I'm unmuting myself now. Oh my word, I'm thinking, I just said to my kids, is there a bone protruding out of your body? No, then don't bother me. I told you, you're my new girl crush. Kelly, move over.
But it took me a long time to get there, because I was like, oh, I'm not being this Mary Poppins mother of, you know, of being there for my kids. And it's like, no, stop that. They know that I love them, but I have to look after me first. Yeah, I have to look after me first. I have to focus on me first. And again, it's that thing, as I said, the oxygen mask, literally the oxygen mask. You cannot, by any means, help anyone else if you haven't got that mask on. And it's the same thing as they say, unless you can't pour from an empty vessel. It's that same thing, right? You have to fill you up. You just have to. And if you're struggling with that, come and speak to me. The African auntie will tell you exactly what you need to know. So that's why I said, hey, enough of this. Enough of this. No. You're not having that today. You are worth it. You are worth it. You matter. It's okay. So yeah, just come by and she'll come out and she'll tell you. Absolutely. Goodness, I guess we should wrap up here, shouldn't we? Oh, this is lovely. It's like a little fireside chat, but from Hawaii. So, well, I guess I'll say aloha, or I don't know what it is in Hawaii to say goodbye. This is just goodbye.
I just want to say thank you, Elizabeth. It's been really, really, really good. It really has been. So I look forward to next week.
Yay, I'm looking forward to it as well. No pressure.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth.
Have a fabulous evening. I think, actually, let me stop record now. That was all recording, by the way.